At 48, Joe Bonamassa finally names the 6 bands he hated most. Joe Bonamassa, born May 8, 1977, in New Hartford, New York, is a world-renowned blues rock guitarist, singer, and songwriter. A child prodigy, he opened for B.B. King at just 12 years old and quickly earned a reputation for his electrifying guitar skills and soulful voice. Throughout his career, Bonamassa has released numerous chart-topping albums, blending traditional blues with modern rock energy. Beyond his solo work, he's collaborated with legends like Eric Clapton and Beth Hart. Known for his relentless touring schedule and deep respect for blues history, Bonamassa has become a torchbearer for the genre, inspiring a new generation of guitarists worldwide. Bonamassa and Johnson, tone clash. Joe Bonamassa, despite his deep respect for many guitar legends, has been candid about the fact that not every celebrated musician speaks to him artistically. One surprising name on that list is Eric Johnson, the Texas-born virtuoso famous for his pristine tone and technically flawless playing. While many guitarists idolize Johnson for tracks like Cliffs of Dover, Bonamassa has expressed that he never truly connected with his style, and the reasons go beyond mere preference. For Bonamassa, music is as much about emotion as it is about skill. His own approach to the guitar draws heavily from the raw, imperfect energy of blues greats like B.B. King, Albert Collins, and Eric Clapton. He thrives on grit, soul, and the kind of expressive phrasing that sometimes bends technical rules in favor of feeling. Johnson's music, on the other hand, is known for its meticulous precision, crystal clear tone, and near clinical execution. While undeniably beautiful, this perfection can feel too polished for someone like Bonamassa, who believes that a little dirt under the fingernails is essential for true blues expression. There's also a philosophical difference in how they see the guitar's role. Johnson often crafts intricate compositions that weave together elements of jazz, rock, and fusion, creating a sound that's as much about sonic beauty as storytelling. Bonamassa, however, views the guitar as a conversational tool, a way to have a direct, visceral exchange with the audience. In his eyes, too much focus on tonal perfection can dilute the rawness that makes live performances so thrilling. Bonamassa has acknowledged Johnson's immense talent and influence, but he's also noted that virtuosity alone doesn't guarantee emotional connection. It's not about disliking Johnson as a person or dismissing his contributions. It's about recognizing that their artistic paths aim for different emotional targets. Bonamassa's blues rock foundation seeks the crack in the voice, the accidental note, the unpredictable spark, things that might get ironed out in Johnson's immaculate approach. Another factor could be generational and cultural context. Bonamassa came of age in an environment steeped in blues history, where storytelling and emotional honesty were paramount. Johnson emerged from a different lineage, one that celebrated technical mastery and sonic purity. While both are masters in their own right, their musical languages are almost dialects from different worlds. Ultimately, Bonamassa's lack of connection with Eric Johnson's music isn't rooted in animosity. It's an honest admission that art is subjective. Even among guitar greats, not every influence fits every player. In Bonamassa's case, his heart belongs to the rough edges of blues, while Johnson's art lives in the pristine landscapes of technical perfection. And that, perhaps, is why their musical worlds will likely never fully overlap. When blues split, Bonamassa and Clark Jr. Joe Bonamassa has always been outspoken about the music that inspires him, and equally honest about the artists whose work doesn't connect with him. One of the more surprising names he's admitted to not fully embracing is Gary Clark Jr., the modern bluesman from Austin, Texas, hailed by many as a savior of the genre. While Bonamassa respects Clark's talent and commercial success, he's made it clear that their musical philosophies are worlds apart. Bonamassa's brand of blues rock is steeped in tradition, carrying the influence of British blues revivalists like Eric Clapton and Peter Green, alongside American legends such as B.B. King. His focus has always been on honoring the roots while delivering precise, technically accomplished performances. Gary Clark Jr., by contrast, approaches blues through a looser, more eclectic lens, blending it with soul, R&B, hip-hop rhythms, and even elements of alternative rock. For purists like Bonamassa, this fusion can feel like a departure from the emotional and structural purity of classic blues. There's also the matter of tone and execution. Bonamassa is known for his meticulous gear setups, signature Les Paul sound, and note-perfect delivery. Clark, on the other hand, embraces a raw, sometimes intentionally messy sound, his guitar work often drenched in fuzz and distortion, prioritizing mood over precision. While many fans see this as refreshing and authentic, Bonamassa's ears are tuned to a different standard, one where clarity and control are essential to delivering the emotional punch. Another point of friction lies in stage presentation. Bonamassa's live shows are polished, structured, and almost orchestral in their arrangement. Clark's performances are looser, more improvisational, and at times unpredictable. This difference in approach reflects not only their musical priorities, but also the way they see their role as modern blues ambassadors. Bonamassa preserves. Clark innovates. Bonamassa has never outright dismissed Clark's talent. In fact, he's praised him for bringing younger audiences into the blues conversation. Bonamassa prefers blues emotional connection over Clark's style. Ultimately, the disconnect between Joe Bonamassa and Gary Clark Jr. is a reminder that even within the same genre, visions can diverge dramatically. Bonamassa's heart lies with the tradition-bound craftsmanship of blues, while Clark's thrives in tearing down its walls to build something new. Neither approach is inherently right or wrong. They're simply different roads on the same map. And for Bonamassa, his road has always led him back to the timeless, unshaken core of the blues. Inside the Bonamassa-Hughes fallout, Joe Bonamassa's time with Black Country Communion, a supergroup formed in 2009 alongside bassist-vocalist Glenn Hughes, drummer Jason Bonham, and keyboardist Derek Sherinian, was initially hailed as a dream collaboration. Combining Bonamassa's blues rock precision with Hughes's soulful, hard rock voice seemed like a perfect match. Yet, behind the scenes, tensions grew, eventually leading to a public rift between Bonamassa and Hughes. While Bonamassa has always been diplomatic in interviews, the underlying reasons for his eventual dislike of working with Hughes stem from creative differences, personality clashes, and conflicting priorities. At the heart of the conflict was the band's creative direction. Bonamassa envisioned Black Country Communion as a project that could merge classic hard rock with his blues sensibilities while maintaining a balanced, democratic songwriting process. Hughes, however, came from a different background, rooted in the hard-driving rock of Deep Purple and Trapeze, and had a more dominant, vocal-driven vision for the band. This often led to disagreements over song arrangements, set lists, and the balance between instrumental and vocal showcases. Bonamassa's touring demands conflicted with Hughes's desire for frequent tours. Personality also played a role. Hughes is famously outspoken and unafraid to air grievances in the press, while Bonamassa tends to be more reserved, preferring to handle disagreements privately. When Hughes began making public comments about Bonamassa's absence and perceived lack of dedication, the tension spilled into the public domain, making reconciliation increasingly difficult. Musically, their philosophies diverged as well. Bonamassa values precision, tight arrangements, and a certain level of control over the final product. Hughes thrives on spontaneity, raw energy, and the unpredictability of live performance. While these traits can complement each other in the right environment, in Black Country Communion they often clashed, creating a push-pull dynamic that neither side seemed willing to fully embrace. By 2013, the tension reached a breaking point, leading to the band's temporary split. Though they later reunited for another album, the underlying friction never completely disappeared. Bonamassa has since focused primarily on his solo work, while Hughes continues to champion Black Country Communion as an active creative outlet. Bonamassa and Hughes conflicted over working styles and visions. When Bonamassa clashed with Haynes in 2022, what should have been a celebration of blues and rock unity at a major European festival turned into one of the most publicized riffs in Joe Bonamassa's career, this time with Warren Haynes, the revered guitarist and vocalist of Gov't Mule, and a longtime figure in the jam band scene. The conflict, as reported by those close to the event, began over something seemingly small: the length of their performance slots and the equipment each would use. But beneath the surface, it revealed deeper issues of professional respect, artistic boundaries, and personal pride. The trouble started when both Bonamassa and Haynes were scheduled to perform separate sets at the festival, with a collaborative jam planned for the finale. Disagreements arose almost immediately over time allocation. Haynes wanted a longer set to accommodate Gov't Mule's extended improvisations, while Bonamassa pushed for a more balanced schedule, emphasizing precision over lengthy jams. The debate escalated when Bonamassa reportedly insisted on using specific backline gear, limiting Haynes's preferred setup. For a guitarist like Haynes, whose tone is as personal as a fingerprint, this felt like a restriction, and tensions flared. The situation worsened in the studio later that year during a collaborative recording session. According to accounts from insiders, Bonamassa, working late one night, re-recorded a guitar part originally played by Haynes without informing him beforehand. While Bonamassa might have seen it as a move to tighten the arrangement or match his own sonic vision, Haynes took it as a sign of disrespect, a silent statement that his contribution wasn't good enough. For a musician of Haynes's stature, this crossed a personal and professional line. The fallout was immediate. Haynes usually measured in his public comments, hinted in interviews that working with Bonamassa had been challenging and that certain collaborators lacked a sense of mutual respect. Bonamassa, for his part, refrained from public rebuttals, but quietly shifted his focus back to projects where he had greater creative control and fewer clashes over artistic vision. At the heart of the conflict was a fundamental difference in musical philosophy. Bonamassa approaches performance and recording with the mindset of a perfectionist, every note deliberate, every tone meticulously dialed in. Haynes thrives in a freer environment, where spontaneity and the energy of the moment guide the music. These approaches can complement each other, but in this case, the lack of communication and differing expectations turned them into sources of friction. Collaboration requires trust, respect, and understanding. Authenticity War. Bonamassa vs. Nain. Shepard. Among the more personal and emotionally charged riffs in Joe Bonamassa's career is his falling out with fellow blues rock guitarist Kenny Wayne Shepard. While both men are modern torchbearers for the blues, their paths to the stage could not have been more different, and it was that difference, coupled with a clash of personalities, that eventually boiled over. The friction reportedly began with Bonamassa's skepticism toward what he saw as the authenticity of Shepard's blues roots. Bonamassa, who came up playing small clubs and learning directly from veteran blues musicians, has often spoken about earning respect in the genre through immersion in its culture and history. Shepard, though undeniably talented, grew up in a well-off family with strong connections to the music industry. His father was a concert promoter and manager. To Bonamassa, this background raised questions about whether Shepard's blues identity was forged in the same fires of struggle and grit that shaped so many of the genre's greats. While Bonamassa never publicly accused Shepard of being inauthentic, those close to the two say his comments in private and in subtle interviews suggested a lingering doubt. Shepard, for his part, was aware of the criticism and chose to answer not with words, but with music, particularly in live settings where the two shared the stage. Shepard would stretch solos, turn up the energy, and, in some cases, push the performance into competitive territory. The tension reached its breaking point during a high-profile blues festival where both were scheduled to perform. According to eyewitness accounts, Shepard delivered an especially fiery set, taking extra time on stage and earning a roaring ovation. Some saw it as an intentional move to assert dominance in front of Bonamassa's crowd. Backstage afterward, words were exchanged. Bonamassa reportedly confronted Shepard about grandstanding and turning a collaborative event into a personal showcase. Shepard fired back, suggesting Bonamassa's problem was less about performance etiquette and more about ego. The argument grew heated, with witnesses describing it as one of the most uncomfortable moments they'd seen between two top-tier guitarists. While no physical altercation occurred, the shouting match left a lasting chill in their relationship. In the months following, the two avoided sharing stages, and collaborations between them, once considered a draw for blues fans, quietly disappeared from festival lineups. Bonamassa-Shepard conflict rooted in pride and perception. In the end, both men continue to thrive in their respective careers, but their paths now run parallel rather than crossing. And for fans who once dreamed of seeing them unite their talents, the backstage blow-up of that night remains an unfortunate what could have been in modern blues history. Clash of blues minds, Bonamassa and Ford. The tension between Joe Bonamassa and Robben Ford, two highly respected guitarists in the blues and jazz fusion worlds, didn't emerge overnight. It built slowly, fueled by differences in philosophy and one particularly bruising studio experience. The spark that lit the fire came in 2018 during a high-profile guitar workshop where Ford, speaking to an audience of aspiring players, made a pointed remark. Musicians who rely too heavily on gear often haven't yet developed their musical ear. While he never named names, those present, and Bonamassa himself, felt the comment was aimed squarely at him. Bonamassa is famously meticulous about his equipment, traveling with a collection of vintage guitars, amps, and pedals that he views as essential to crafting his tone. To him, this isn't about compensating for a lack of skill. It's about chasing a sonic ideal. Ford, on the other hand, has long preached the importance of stripping things back, believing that tone comes primarily from the hands and the heart, not the gear. This philosophical divide struck a nerve, and Bonamassa, who takes pride in his technical mastery, reportedly felt the comment was dismissive of his artistry. The simmering tension escalated months later when both were invited to contribute to a collaborative studio project. In one track, Bonamassa recorded an intricate, technically demanding solo, meticulously layered with effects to create depth and texture. Ford, in contrast, delivered a minimalist, soulful take, just a few well-placed notes raw and unadorned. When the producer ultimately chose Ford's version for the final cut, it was a blow to Bonamassa's ego. Sources close to the session say he felt his contribution had been sidelined in favor of something he considered simplistic. Bonamassa valued artistic respect and effort. Ford favored restraint, leading to tension in their professional relationship. At its core, the Bonamassa-Ford rift was about more than one workshop comment or one studio decision. It was a clash between two visions of what makes great guitar playing, one rooted in precision, equipment mastery, and sonic detail, the other grounded in minimalism, instinct, and raw feel. Both philosophies have merit, but in this case, they proved incompatible and left behind a lingering divide between two giants of the guitar world. Joe Bonamassa's blues legacy.